The observation deck of the galactic medical vessel Zenith's Grace hummed with quiet efficiency. As Dr. Zalthoran examined the impossible data streaming across his neural interface, the Valkyrie physician's 6 optical sensors blinked in sequential disbelief. A biological tell that he'd never quite mastered hiding. "This cannot be accurate," he muttered, his translator converting the thought into standard galactic. "Run the diagnostic again." His assistant, a young Krathi named Sev, manipulated the holographic controls with her primary manipulators, while her secondary set checked the equipment calibration. 13th verification complete, Doctor. The readings are consistent. Zalthoran turned his massive frame toward the isolation chamber where the human female lay, unconscious, suspended in a regeneration field that bathed her in soft blue light. Eleanor Chen, that was the name in her identification chip, one of the few pieces of technology on her person that hadn't been completely destroyed. They'd found her floating in an escape pod near the Krevish Expanse, a region of space that had been declared a dead zone for the past 3 cycles. The radiation levels there could strip electrons from atoms, turn living tissue into ash in microseconds, and had rendered to entire planetary systems completely sterile. Nothing lived in the Krevish Expanse. Nothing could. Yet Eleanor had been there for an estimated 47 standard days. Her cellular structure shows damage, Zalthoran observed, studying the microscopic scans. But it's repairing itself. The DNA helixes are reconstructing. I've never seen anything like this. The human medical databases mention something called DNA repair mechanisms, Sev offered, pulling up the reference files that Earth had provided when humanity joined the Galactic Council 5 years prior, but nothing on this scale. According to their own research, radiation exposure at even 1/10 of what she endured should have resulted in complete cellular death. Zalthoran moved closer to the observation window. Eleanor's vital signs were stabilizing, had been for the past 6 hours, since they'd brought her aboard. Her species was young by galactic standards, having only achieved faster-than-light travel a mere generation ago. They were considered fragile, short-lived, prone to disease and environmental sensitivity. The being before him defied every assessment. "When will she wake?" asked a new voice. Zalthoran turned to see Commander George Hayward, the human liaison officer assigned to this sector. The man's face was drawn with concern, dark circles under his eyes suggesting he hadn't engaged in the human sleep cycle since receiving news of Eleanor's discovery. "Soon," Zalthoran replied. "Her brain activity is increasing." "Commander, I must ask, are you certain your species has provided us with accurate biological data?" George's expression shifted to something between confusion and offense. "Of course. Why would we lie about our own biology?" "Because what I'm seeing is impossible." Zalthoran gestured to the data streams. "This radiation should have killed her. It killed planets, Commander. It sterilized worlds. Yet she survived long enough for us to find her. And now her body is healing damage that would have reduced any other known species to constituent atoms." George stepped closer to the window, placing his hand against the transparent aluminum. "Eleanor was always stubborn," he said softly. "Best xenobiologist in the fleet. If anyone could survive the impossible, it would be her. This isn't stubbornness. This is biological impossibility becoming reality inside the chamber." Eleanor's eyes fluttered open. The regeneration field automatically adjusted its intensity as her consciousness returned. For a moment, she simply stared at the ceiling, then slowly turned her head toward the observation window, her gaze locked onto George. Despite the communication barrier created by the isolation field, Zalthoran could read the relief in both humans' expressions, a universal emotional response that transcended species boundaries. "Let me speak with her," George said. Zalthoran hesitated, then activated the communication channel. "Ms. Chen, can you hear me? I am Dr. Zalthoran. You're safe aboard the Zenith's Grace. You've been through significant trauma." Eleanor's voice came through weak but clear. How long?" "We found you 2 days ago. You've been unconscious during treatment. Miss Chen, can you tell us what happened?" She closed her eyes, and Zalthoran watched her biometrics spike with what he'd learned to recognize as human emotional. The stress, the research station, We were studying the radiation effects on synthetic materials. There was an accident. The containment fields failed. Everyone else. They died instantly. But you didn't, Zalthoran said gently. No. Eleanor's laugh was bitter. I made it to the escape pod. I knew the radiation would kill me eventually. I kept thinking I'd die in the next hour. Then the next day. Then the next week. I stopped counting after a while. George leaned closer to the window. Ellie, it's me. You're going to be okay. Her eyes found him again, and something in her expression softened. George, you came. Always. Zalthoran studied the readings again, his mind racing through possibilities. Humans were adaptable. Their own records showed us species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and near-extinction events on their home world. But this went beyond adaptation. This was resistance, at a fundamental level that suggested something deeper about human biology. Miss Chen, he said, with your permission, I would like to conduct further studies. Understanding how you survived could have implications for radiation treatment across all species. Eleanor nodded weakly. Whatever you need, Doctor. Can George stay? Of course. As George was cleared to enter the isolation chamber, Zalthoran returned to his console. Sev joined him, her sensory stalks tilted in curiosity. What are you thinking, Doctor? Zalthoran pulled up the comparative biology files, hundreds of species, thousands of physiological profiles. I'm thinking that we've underestimated humanity. Their world forces them to be resilient in ways we've never needed to be. They evolved under a star that bombards their planet with radiation. They developed in an environment that constantly tried to kill them, and it made them strong. Strong enough to survive what kills planets, Zalthoran agreed. He watched through the window as George sat beside Eleanor's regeneration bed, holding her hand through the field's permeable membrane. I suspect we've only begun to understand what humans are truly capable of. In the isolation chamber, Eleanor Chen, survivor of the impossible, managed a small smile as she squeezed George's hand, her cells quietly continuing their miraculous work of rebuilding. What the universe had tried to destroy, humanity had survived ice and fire, predators and plague, famine and war. What was a little radiation compared to 4 billion years of refusing to give up?